Part 1. Eli discovers the portal and learns about its effects. It was supposed to be just another routine adventure for Eli, a young, eager explorer with an insatiable thirst for the unknown. But this journey was unlike any other. Eli had spent most of his life traveling to remote and forgotten places, his heart racing every time he uncovered a hidden treasure or stumbled upon an ancient secret. However, it was in the shadows of a forgotten cave deep in the mountains that he stumbled upon something that would change his life forever. The entrance to the cave was small, narrow, and barely noticeable, hidden behind a curtain of thick vines. Eli, always keen to explore new spaces, had pushed through without hesitation. The cave smelled of damp stone, the air cool and stale. As he ventured deeper into the darkness, his lantern flickered, casting long, eerie shadows against the walls. And then he saw it. At first, he thought his eyes were playing tricks on him. Perhaps the dim light had caused a trick of the mind. But as he stepped closer, he realized it was real. A shimmering portal stood before him. It wasn't like anything he'd seen before. Unlike the traditional idea of a portal, which was often depicted as a glowing vortex, this one appeared as a crack in reality itself. A jagged tear in the air, glowing faintly with swirling hues of blue and green. The very fabric of space seemed to bend around it, rippling like a pool of water disturbed by a stone. Eli hesitated. He had heard stories of such portals, whispers among the locals, tales passed down through generations. A gateway to another world, they said, but no one had ever claimed to enter one. No one had ever returned to tell the tale. With his heart pounding, Eli made his decision. He stepped closer, barely daring to breathe, and reached out to touch the rippling edge of the portal. Zap! The moment his fingers made contact, a shockwave of energy surged through his body, knocking him off his feet. His lantern flew from his hand, extinguishing upon impact with the stone floor. The world around him seemed to bend and twist, and before he could even comprehend what was happening, Eli was pulled into the portal. For a moment, there was nothing but darkness. Cold and suffocating. Then, as if from nowhere, the world around him shifted. He opened his eyes. Eli found himself standing in the middle of a vast, strange landscape. The sky above was unlike anything he had ever seen, a canvas of swirling clouds and shimmering stars that glowed like fireflies. The ground beneath his feet was soft, almost ethereal, as if the land itself was alive, breathing. Trees with glowing leaves stretched high above, their branches twisting in intricate patterns, like they were reaching for the sky. It was beautiful, and yet something about it felt wrong. It felt unnatural. His heart raced. Where was he? The air was thick with a strange energy, an energy he couldn't explain. Every breath he took felt different, warped. The colors around him seemed to shift, as if the world was constantly in flux. He looked around, trying to get his bearings. There were no signs of life, no sounds, just the wind that carried an almost whispering quality, as though the land itself was trying to speak to him. Suddenly, A soft hum filled the air, echoing from a distant place. Curious, Eli followed the sound, his feet moving swiftly across the unfamiliar terrain. It led him to a massive structure, a towering monument in the distance. It was a temple, but unlike any he had seen before. Its walls were covered in strange runes, glowing faintly in the same iridescent colors that filled the sky. As he approached, Eli noticed something that made his heart skip a beat. The temple was alive. The stone walls seemed to pulse, breathing in rhythm with the air around him. He stepped closer to the entrance, his mind racing. What was this place? How had he arrived here? Before he could reach the door, a figure appeared from the shadows, a man tall and cloaked in a flowing robe. His face was hidden beneath a hood, but his eyes gleamed with an eerie knowledge. "You have found it," the man said, his voice soft but carrying an unsettling authority. "The portal." Eli froze, his pulse quickening. "What is this place?" he asked, trying to sound calm, though his mind was reeling. "This is the realm beyond time," the man replied, his voice like a whisper in the wind. "And you, Eli, have stumbled into something far greater than you could have ever imagined." Eli's mind spun. "How do you know my name?" The man smiled, a knowing look in his eyes. "I know everything about you, just as you know nothing about this place." A cold shiver ran down Eli's spine. "What do you mean?" The man stepped closer, his presence unnerving. "You have entered a world where time does not follow the rules you know. Time flows differently here." Eli frowned. "What do you mean?" "Time is time. It's always the same." The man shook his head, his smile fading. "Not here. In this world, time is malleable. The moment you step into this realm, you are no longer bound by the constraints of reality. You can spend hours, days, even years here, and yet when you return to your world, only a few moments have passed. Time here is the illusion, a game." Eli's heart sank. "So, this place is some kind of trap?" The man's eyes darkened. "Not a trap, but a cycle. A cycle that has ensnared many before you. A cycle that never ends." Confusion and fear began to gnaw at Eli. "How do I escape?" The man's expression grew serious. "That is where things get difficult." Eli felt a sinking feeling in his stomach. "What do you mean?" The man took a deep breath, as though choosing his words carefully. "The key to escaping is hidden here, but finding it will not be easy, and there is a price." "What price?" Eli demanded. The man's gaze met Eli's with a knowing look. "Every time you enter and leave this world, you lose a part of yourself, a memory, a moment. Each time you return to your world, you forget more of what you once knew." Eli's chest tightened. "So you're saying I can never escape without losing everything?" The man nodded. "Time is a fickle thing. It can be your ally or your enemy. The choice is yours, Eli. But remember this, Every use of the portal brings you closer to losing yourself. Eli stood frozen, his mind racing. He could hardly comprehend what he was hearing. What was the cost of this world? What would he lose to break free? Was it worth it? The man gave him one last piece of advice. Be careful, young adventurer. The more you use the portal, the more the world outside changes, and you may find yourself in a reality that no longer feels like your own. As the man's figure faded into the shadows, Eli stood alone in the vastness of the strange realm, the weight of his decision pressing down on him. Would he risk everything to break free? Or was he already too far gone? To be continued.